G'day, g'day. Hope you guys are all having a good one. Yeah, I pretty much just recorded my that I'm back video, and yeah, I'm to continue along with something that I found out about recently and figured I will cover is the Django Fix Elemental Suite roadmap. That got released as of yesterday for my time, maybe same day for some of you guys, depending on your time zones. I'm not too sure. But yeah, ultimately, this is pretty big. So to quickly cover, there used to be an old roadmap. Just quickly going on to the Discord. Here we go. On Trello, they used to have this, which I guess they must have completely removed it all. Fair enough, though. And the issue was there wasn't, well, one, this wasn't like easily accessible. You had to obviously go into the Discord, know that there even was in feedback and bugs a roadmap on Trello, and then it didn't really get updated or anything like that. And that was kind of like, I don't know. It was really helpful when it was getting updated, but I did ask at some point, well, it seems a couple years ago, if there was going to be one for Geogen and Liquigen. I think they had one for Liquigen, maybe. I'm not too sure. And I don't think Geogen had one in the end. But this used to be a thing, and then, you know, Nick, the creator, the CEO, was just like, this year I want more, to be telling you guys what we're working on, how's it all working, how's it going, and stuff like that, which is an amazing thing, and the transparency is great. And it's for something, I guess. I mean, I think transparency is pretty much always like a really awesome thing, for all these sorts of things, because I don't know, you kind of get the issue of, even with some of the big companies, it's just like, I mean, you got stuff like for example, Maya, where you get the odd update, or like, I mean, a big one for me would be Adobe Substance, where they like it's almost February. They haven't released their 2025 version one, kind of like the first update for 2025, stuff like that. And it's just like, that you're not getting the transparency of like, what are you guys doing? Is there an update coming? Are you guys working on something? I mean, you can always assume so, but it's like sometimes, if you're there at the wrong time and it's just like, I don't see anything coming, it's great to be able to see what's going on. So we're going to be covering, I guess, what they're working on, my thoughts on each of these things. There's a bit of new stuff, there's a bit of interesting stuff, but I'll be covering it all. So, well, ideally, I'm going to turn off my camera, I just realized, because it's going to be hiding some stuff, but otherwise that should be all good. Turn off the wrong webcam. There we go. So yeah, starting off, we have the new sparse simulation technology and rendering. This has been something, I mean, I was about to say something and I remembered I was wrong. This has been something that I've been working on for a while. I was about to say this is something that's been coming for Embergen 2.0 for ages, but I actually believe that this was originally ideally going to be coming in Embergen 1, and I'm pretty sure they got changed a little bit before Embergen 1 got released. I'm assuming they realized that it's quite a large, I mean, they know, like, they've been working on it for ages, and I know that they know that it's quite a hard thing. I couldn't ever think of, I mean, I couldn't even make Embergen normal, let alone Embergen sparse. So it's obviously a big task, something that's been in the works for ages. I don't know, I feel like, I think I've almost seen sparse being in the works almost the whole time that I've been using Embergen. So that would have been, I think I started getting into Embergen maybe 2021, 2022, off the top of my head. So it's been in the works, I think, for, or at least being planned for about a couple years now. So hopefully this is something that I mean, looking, I'll cover it, but it seems like it's going to be a really, really awesome big. Like, I think it's going to be quite refined when it comes out. Is I guess what I'm trying to get at. Um, Considering the time and effort that has been put into it. As sparse, I think is going to be. I think when I really put my head to it, I think sparse will almost be like it's like a really massive step. Because of the context of what sparse actually is doing, right? Performance-wise, it is only rendering the voxels, right, that are really being used. Because obviously, if you've used Embergen before or other simulation tools such as like Houdini, you would know. I mean, Houdini can use sparse, but if you're doing normal non-sparse stuff, you know that you have I guess a box, or some software can do other things that aren't boxes, and you can use like a cylinder and stuff as like a cage. But regardless, Embergen uses a box, and it basically every single time you're doing a frame, you're still rendering all the voxels within the box, whether or not they are actually being used, which is really, really, really like by design, that's not great because it's effectively wasted performance, and so it always ends up being weighing the pros and cons of like, do you want a bigger simulation, but then you have so much extra wasted stuff, or can you reduce the bounds, but then you may have a worse I guess visual, or you got a smaller simulation than you would like. So this is going to be a massive thing for performance, and I would imagine it depends on how they implement it, but I would imagine sparse would be like the new, pretty much you would only use sparse. The only thing would be potentially considering it's maybe a different solver, or at least it's using different methods. You may get a more realistic result. I don't know. It also, I mean, they've been working on it for a while as well, so I'm not too sure exactly. I don't know the technical sides of these things, but yeah, maybe, I don't know. I think maybe sparse you'll only really be using sparse, but yeah, basically simulate only in active regions, which is great. So it's only where stuff really is visible. So you're gonna have smoke, or you got your fire and stuff like that. It ultimately is gonna be really, really good. Practically unbounded simulation space, effectively, 8K by 8K by 8K, which is massive. I see. So one sparse voxel is typically equal to 4 to 6 dense voxels, and I'm guessing dense voxels are possibly, the normal bounds. So that's going to be pretty good. So effectively you'll be able to multiply the numbers in the following 4 to 6 times compared to Embergen 1. So I'm not too sure if this is accounting for that then. So if you'll be able to hit 200 million voxels on a 6 gigabyte card, if that is 200 million, which is the equivalent to, I guess, 8 million, or if that's just the same 2 million. I'm not too sure. It depends. I mean, if anybody here working there at Jenga could clarify that, that'd be awesome. But from a base point of view, this is amazing. I mean, being able to hit these. So I have a 16 gigabyte card, so supposedly 600 million active voxels. They do a little bit talking about upscaling, and theoretically you can get a bit more going with that. But upscaling is something that could, I don't know, upscaling isn't a perfect, thing at the moment. So hopefully there's also some upscaling improvements at some point. Where upscaling, it sort of does change, things sort of interact and get a bit more wispy when you upscale. So that's something that would be awesome to be improved as well. But Yeah, VDB files. Now, bear in mind, this is all just for 2.0, presumably, at least for now. I mean, they might take some things out because it's better to just pump 2.0 out and something that's maybe not viable or you're getting a bunch of issues. But VDB import is going to be amazing. That's going to be really, really good. I mean, if you're going to be able to do potentially like multiple simulations at once and then be able to get that going, and especially if they when they start adding path trace and stuff, and you may be able to start using it as like a rendering. I mean, you can already use it for rendering, right, in films, so it's going to be like potentially if you import a bunch of effects, I mean, assuming it's still performant, that's going to be really, really awesome. So import static and animated VDB files, which is going to be amazing. For those who do not know VDB, it's like I don't know, maybe volume. I don't know what it stands for, but at the end of the day, it's effectively a file that holds the data of, I guess, your smoke, your fire, and effects and whatnot. That you can use in other programs such as like Blender, Maya, stuff like that. And that's how you get your 3D volume as opposed to just a 2D render of it. So that's going to be really, really awesome. And that's going to open up a whole lot of new things. This is going to be great. So improved mesh rendering. That's something that, I mean, I don't feel like it's something that's been overly asked for, but it's something that is 100,000% incredibly, like, that's going to be amazing to have, because this is like this is just what we currently have, like, visually. These are just where I just left off. I actually just saw it and I figured I might as well bring it up. So this is what's it called? Color, vertex colors, I believe. There, but this is sort of what we got at the moment, which is fine, but you don't really have normal coloring, and you have a lot of issues there. And at the end of the day, it's just going to be 10 times better having, actual presumable textures being able to be applied, and actual shadows and mesh and stuff like that. New GPU particle system. I think I've seen some. Listen, I think GPU particle system is kind of like my weak point in Embergen. I sort of like, I know a little bit about it, but the variety of things that I've seen people come out with the GPU particle system is amazing. I've seen like nebulas and stuff being made out of it. So, yeah, I mean, having a new particle system is going to be amazing. Potentially, you're going to be able to do even more with it. Be it particles in Embergen 1 are performant heavy and a bit convoluted. Rewrite will serve as a new foundation for future GPU particle emissions. So hopefully better performance, but also better collisions, easier controls, and potentially, yeah, a bit more to do with that. And that's going to be amazing. That's going to, like, GPU particles is kind of, it's not like, I don't think the big focus. When you think Embergen, you think like clouds, you think explosions, fire, stuff like that. But it's an amazing thing to have on the side, and there's a lot that you can really do with it. And I think it just kind of allows Embergen to be even a whole lot more than originally it's going to be. I mean, of course, you got, like, for example, you can see these particles jumping out there. And you can do it to make your explosions even better, but it also adds some other cool stuff that you can do with it. But yeah, volume caching. This has been something that has seems to be a bit of a what do you call it? A tight subject, I guess, in regards to Embergen, and then I guess the rest of their tools, where it's there's always been the I guess thought of why, people will ask, I want volume caching so I can do even bigger explosions and have even better effects. And then the I guess general response is always but why would you really want volume caching? if we can still have it real time, like the whole idea of the software being real time software. So volume caching, it kind of goes completely against it, and it's kind of like, I feel both ways. I mean, I like, at the end of the day, it's impossible to have every simulation you could ever plan be real time, right? Like, that is the idea, but there's stuff that's just gonna be like, you're either gonna have to either A, split it into different simulations and simulate different aspects of it, or it's just like, I don't know. I think sparse and stuff like that's going to be a great push towards a lot of these sorts of things, but there's always going to be the limitation of you've only got so much VRAM, you've only got so much stuff, there's only so many optimizations you can do, and it starts getting like, you get some performance optimizations, but it's only like a 5% improvement and stuff like that, because you've done so much. Like, you know, there's a limitation, I guess. And so I think this is when volume caching starts becoming great. Especially when you're making like real subtle changes, where you need to just keep going back and forth between like small changes and stuff like that. Caching is going to be great. Especially, I don't know, I don't think at least this will be something for 2.0, but if you could like cache multiple versions of it, and then you can like, you know, click each cache, you know, and it's like gonna play that cache, and you can kind of like look at if you have like a subtle change, so you're changing like a specific parameter and you want to see how that's affecting it, then you can just click the different caches and it runs side by side. Maybe that could be something kind of interesting. I don't know. That's something that I just thought up on the spot. Mac OS, I feel kind of 50-50 on Mac OS. I think, you know, it's going to be for people that do use Mac and studios that use Mac. I think this is going to be great. The unfortunate thing, well, I would say personally, fortunately, but you know, depends on your views, but macOS is kind of like it's a very small portion of users, total users, in general. So it's kind of like a small thing, but you know, I think it's also always great. And I mean, you know, having these things run on Mac and Linux is always going to be, you know, you're not getting forced into a specific OS. So that's always good, I guess. But yeah, so it's always a really sore subject of like, do you think it's worth supporting Mac and Linux if every single time you do need to do an update, maybe there's specific performance related issues and stuff needs rewriting to support the different OSs? Is it worth it? Because then it might make future updates take longer because they need to be supported on each platform and stuff like that. I don't know. It's a bit of a tight one. There's no right or wrong answer really. But that's always a consideration, and they know that. And anybody that considers different OSs will be concerned that this looks amazing though. But new combustion model is the original 1.0, not original, but you know, the current 1.0 combustion model is convoluted, difficult, and pretty difficult to get specific stuff looking accurate. So potentially 2.0 will have a lot more control and stuff like that. This one, I'm intrigued to know exactly how that is going. I mean, you can say you have full control over how fast, big, badass your combustion simulation is, more streamlined and easy. I don't know if that's just going to be like the nodes are going to have like different parameters, and the parameters might have different results and more control and stuff like that. I'd assume so, but either way, a new combustion model that's improved is always going to be something awesome to see. HDRI, I'm assuming this will... HDRI is always going to be great, and it adds a whole lot more to it, because instead of needing to export your as I mentioned here in the VDB section, you know, if you're doing like film related stuff, you're going to have to export your VDB, bring it into something like Blender, for example, and render out with a path tracer and HDRI to get correct, to match your lighting, I guess. I mean, you can do a little bit already in Embergen with your current lighting setups, and you can get some pretty good lighting, but an HDRI is going to take it to the next level. So this is going to be amazing and mean that the Embergen can become, you know, full-on, more reliably renderable, I guess, as a software as well. variable combustion, component injection. This one is something that I don't completely understand. I understand it. So basically, they use a really good example here of, think of it that at the end of the day, it's just going to have different, I guess, aspects of the simulation can have different parameters. So you can have, for example, a bomb, and then you can have the bomb exploding on dirt, and so the dirt will still retain the color of dirt, while you can have the bomb having, you know, a white cloud of smoke or something like that. So as you can see here, we've got some being, you got some like pink smoke, we got some blue, and you can do some of the stuff by doing like lifetime and life cycle, and potentially you can, you know, color by that. But that's kind of like that's more particles at the moment. That's not really like the smoke. So this is going to be amazing. I'll be intrigued to see how they implement it, but that's in the sense of like, I don't know, I feel like it's something like, how do you depict what is in this example, for example, how do you depict what is going to be the bomb smoke and what is going to be the dirt? I'd be intrigued to know how that's done. Maybe it's like, I would assume it was probably just going to be like per emitter, so you're coloring the smoke and maybe explosion, like fire as well, per emitter. I'm not too sure, and maybe, I don't know, that might be how they do it, but either way, that's going to be kind of interesting. If it's per emitter, that could be pretty cool. I don't know. I think it's going to be, it's something that I think is going to be really good, and once again, a big improvement. Because otherwise, if you want to do those sorts of things, you sort of have to have multiple different simulations, and then you have to comp them all together, which can be a bit annoying. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just going to make everything so much better. This is something that is, I don't know if this is like such a big thing in comparison to some of these things, but to me, this is something that's going to be really awesome, and probably one of the biggest things that I see in the Discord is like, I'm importing my simulation into Blender, and the frame rates are different, and it's causing some issues. And you have ways of doing that. So what you'd do is you'd set it to 60, and if you want 30 FPS, you set it to 60 and do like a time step of like 2 or something. So it does every second frame, which, you know, half 60 is 30, and stuff like that. A bit of math. Like, let's keep it real. That's kind of like a bit of a jumpy way of doing it. It's kind of like you have to go through a couple loops to get your result, and it requires a bit of math. This is a much better way of doing it, so you're effectively retiming your simulations potentially a bit better, so you can do it straight to 60, or you can do to 24 to 25, 30, or your normal I guess frame rates that you'd generally be working with. And this is such a small thing, I believe, here, but having retimed, that's going to be awesome. So you can do like slow-mos and stuff, supposedly. That's going to be really, really awesome, I think, personally. But yeah, we're also going to have splines, spline shapes, and forces. This is another thing that I've seen. Like, I don't think this is like a big thing that's constantly being asked for, but I've seen a lot of people ask for this in the past, where you can have even just for GPU particles, but especially but even like volume and stuff, being able to make stuff go in splines and shapes. You can have like you can sort of do stuff, and you can kind of do stuff like I'm just trying to think. If you did like a fireball, you can kind of like keyframe where the emitter is going, and then of course it all follows that. But having a spline shape it's just going to allow you to have a lot more control over these sorts of things, and potentially we're going to be able to see a lot of really cool simulations going. I mean, you'll potentially be able to do, like, for example, like a pipe, and have stuff going through like a pipe, and you don't have to like model the pipe and have stuff go through. You can do like a spline for it and stuff. I don't know. I mean, I'm just thinking of stuff on the spot, but yeah, I mean, the more that you put thought into it, that's going to be really, really awesome to see. Selectable viewport items. This is going to be amazing. So you can, I mean, this is a small thing, but it's great for like UI reasons and whatnot. You can just like click on the objects, each object that you want to select, and work with it there. That's just always going to be a pro. And hopefully, I believe this is gonna. They said that they're gonna be touching up the gizmos and stuff and how they work, which is gonna be great. I don't know. I'm pretty sure they fixed a bug, but there was a bug with that when you're like holding Alt and you like hover over the gizmo spasms, or the whole thing spasms. So that's gonna be awesome to see. I think they fixed that since, but that was a big bug that I found. At least when using industry standard settings, whatever it's called. Mesh-based particles. So this is going to be effectively you can instance objects on probably GPU particles, which is going to be awesome. So that's once again going to be a pretty big thing. Like one thing that I'm noticing here, which is probably part of the plan, is just making Embergen really good and capable of I guess using more so as a rendering thing, because once again, like in your own program, you can always you would generally, like, if you're gonna have like specific particles, let's say you explode a building or some glass, right, and then you got like bits of glass coming out in different shapes and stuff, you can't, like, trying to get like a glass look, for example, out of particles is kind of like, that's not really going to happen. So having specific mesh-based particles is going to be amazing, because otherwise you have to import into a different program once again. So having that kind of work is going to be really, really awesome, and then potentially having like a bunch of different types of meshes, and then, you know, selecting a randomize between these different types, that's going to be really awesome. So you could have like, I don't know, a wooden structure and have a bunch of like, you know, wooden splinters and stuff coming out. I mean, like, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, the ideas and what you can go with it is going to be pretty good. Small thing, USD support. I personally don't use USD, but I know a lot of people do, and a lot of things are pushing towards utilizing USD over stuff like FBX, and which is like the current norm. I believe bigger file sizes if you're doing USD, but for USD can support a lot more, I believe, and what information it holds. So it's pretty good. Path tracing, once again, why you'll be able to do everything pretty much in Embergen instead of having to utilize other programs with you do your rendering and extra stuff in Houdini, or bring it into Blender, or whatever other program, Maya. I don't know if people actually use Maya for like rendering and with like all these explosions and stuff. I've done a bit of stuff in Maya. Like I use Maya as my general modeling tool, but for, you know, all these kind of effects, I don't know, unless you're using like your render engine supports. I'm pretty sure Arnold was, at least the iteration that I tried and that I was using, Arnold sometimes doesn't support a lot of these things. That could have just been how I was taught to use it though. But yeah. Animated 3D and 4D volume textures. That's going to be pretty awesome. I'm not too sure what this entirely entails. I'm not too sure about volume textures. I've never utilized volume. I don't know if that's just like a noise texture per se. I'm not too sure though. But that could be interesting. I'm not too sure how it works though. But yeah, I would be intrigued to see how an example of that. I mean, there's obviously an example, but as somebody who's never really seen anything about it before, it's kind of sort of hard to picture how that could be utilized. Wedging and batch processing, so that's pretty much just, you can have variations of explosions, for example, and then basically it's like, if you want to do, I don't know, you need a bunch of VDBs of like, I don't know, shots, like a bullet hitting a wall, for example, and you want to, like, I don't know, 3 iterations. Instead of having to make 3 different ones, you can just, you know, set the specific parameters that randomize, and then, you know, you export them, and it just makes your life so much easier. So that's going to be awesome. More curve parameters, that's going to be great, because curve parameters give you a heap more control over sliders. So that's going to be awesome. Scriptable API, this is something that's been supposedly in the works for a long time. I remember, I think last year they did they sent out a form asking people that would use the scriptable API and you know what they want support for and stuff like that. So that's going to be pretty awesome. Emission from textures, they used to have it. Now they don't, but they're going to be re-adding that, so it's going to be awesome. Just quickly covering the extra things that's going to be coming to Embergen. And future updates, that's probably, unless something random happens, but probably not coming to 2.0. Volume modifier, distortion, that's going to be pretty awesome. Baked noise, that's going to be really good, so that's going to be extra performance, really. Deep EXR, I personally wouldn't really use that, but for people doing like comping and stuff like that, that's going to be like a pretty key thing, I'd imagine. MP4, I did have this talk, and I was talking to one of the employees in like a voice call ages ago. I'm like, why does Embergen not support MP4? Because it's something that's just like, why does it not? You know what I mean? As MP4 is kind of like standard, and I think it's like one of the most supported in terms of like viewing, right? You want to upload your explosion onto Discord, you're gonna have to, you know, take your you know, PNG sequence, combine it all, either using FFmpeg or you know, Premiere Pro or DaVinci and stuff, and then you can view it on something like Discord or send it via, you know, an email or you know what I mean, or put it on YouTube or whatnot. Basically, the answer for that was it's licensable, I believe. So you have to spend a bunch of money, and then you have to recurringly keep paying, obviously, for the license of using MP4. So that's completely understandable to me. I'd love to see it, but I understand, and that kind of covered it for me of like why they haven't added it. It's just going to be a bit of a money sink, and it's a reoccurring money sink. So especially once you start adding it, you know, if they can't pay their license, and then, you know, you can't use MP4 anymore, and it's just like, but you had MP4, why did you get rid of it? And it's like, yeah, we can't afford the license, stuff like that. It's just like, I don't know. It's one of those things that, like, once you get it, it just starts getting a bit more expensive. But with Embergen and Django stuff getting more popular, more users, more money going into it, that's going to be great to see. Granular solver. This is something, I don't know. I feel like they would, I'd be intrigued to know if they make a separate tool for this, or if they just leave this straight up in Embergen. But a granular solver, there's not too many. I believe they're Storm. Storm is the only other, like, obviously you have Houdini, Storm VFX. You have Storm, and this is the only one that I've really found that does granular outside of like Houdini, and it does a pretty good job. This one, unfortunately, it's alright, but it's like, it could be a bit more refined and stuff like that. They do. I believe this has been used in a bit of stuff. I believe in a couple movies, stuff like that. I think it was used in Game of Thrones for a specific sequence, at least, when I remember. So you got stuff like, you can do like snow granular solvers, and they are doing like a bit of volume and stuff like that, a bit of liquids. But yeah, I think for me, the fact that you can do granular solvers is probably a kind of pretty key thing, considering how little software can currently do that. So granular solver for dirt and sand, that's going to be amazing. I mean, this was why I said, you know, I'd be intrigued to know if it's in Embergen, because this could be a whole tool in itself. Let's keep it real. But then again, sometimes it's nice to have everything in the one tool. But it's one of those things. Do you want to keep it in one tool? Or is it better to have people just purchase that and maybe make it a bit cheaper, but it only does granular? So then, you know, you don't have to buy all of Embergen if you only need grain. Exporting vector fields. This used to be a thing. Because you had, you know, vector array gen but this has been discontinued. But yeah, Vector, pretty much bringing back Vector Ray Gen. Okay, and yeah, they cover that it's either going to be 2025, 2026. I would love to see this 2025, but I also think, because they've been working on 2.0 for a good while now, I would love to see it 2025, but at the same time, like, you know, don't rush it. The last thing you want is them to rush it and there be like some major issues or having to cut out. I mean, imagine if they had to cut out Sparse because Sparse was still having, still needed some work. I mean, that'd just be kind of like a bit of a bummer. So with a big, you know, update like this, you know, I'd love everything to be working well and refined. And hey, maybe we might have like, there might be like testing and stuff like that, and you can like test Embergen 2.0 prior to release. I believe they did that for 1.0. So I'm not too sure. But that could be something that we may see. Variable particle attributes, that's going to be color, viscosity, density. So particles holding unique attributes such as, you know, viscosity, surface tension, stuff like that. There's just going to be more capabilities. This is going to be great. So I think this is going to be stuff like potentially some. I could be misreading it, but it might be something similar to what they're doing with maybe the variable component injection, where you maybe be able to have like 2 different colors of water going in and mixing together. I don't know, maybe that could be interesting. Vertex animated texture support. That's gonna be pretty good. I've never used it before. Vertex animated texture. Oh, I'm not too sure. This may be something like yeah, I'm not too sure. I've never used it before personally, but that might be something like having animated textures, and I'm not too sure. Usually you'd have it like as a timing tile, so you have like a specific tileable texture, and then you have it move along an axis, for example. So I'm not too sure if that is sort of the same thing, but considering it's like vertex anyway, I don't know. That could be interesting though. Higher quality mesh, liquid meshing. This is going to be great. Currently meshing in Liquigen isn't a high enough quality for production. We're focusing on R&D that will allow users to adjust the meshing resolution of any liquid. I'd be intrigued to know. I mean, yeah, that it is actually really cool. So they have some real-time things. So I'd be intrigued to know if they do something similar to this with Geogen. I mean, it's not like, because Geogen, I don't think you have like this real-time viewer of stuff. You just have this set resolutions and stuff like that. So that could be something that is also like a 50-50 thing where you're getting the bonuses with it's mainly being made for Liquigen and stuff like that, but you also get, you know, the ability of being able to do that in Geogen. And something that could be pretty interesting in the future. I mean, this is great already, but having I would imagine this wouldn't run as well though. But what's it called? In Gaia, you have, depending on what I guess is most important, you can have what's it called? Like when things get meshed, you have different levels of quality based on like long story short, a flat surface doesn't require as many polygons as, for example, a highly dense aspect of the mesh. And so you are putting more triangles into those dense regions that require the more, you know, resolution. Where if you lower the resolution, it completely crops those details. Whereas something that's like more flat and doesn't really require it, like let's say you have a droplet, you know, going into water, and you have like the ripples going out. The flat parts that haven't been, you know, been affected by the droplet yet, you know, those don't need as many triangles, for example, in the meshing. So that could be something that we may see in the future. I don't know. That would be far off. That's quite a hard thing to do. I've only seen Gaia do that. I haven't seen in terms of landscapes anyway. I haven't seen stuff like World Creator or Geogen do it. So, just because it's a bit of a tricky thing to do. Simulation stability, that's going to be great to see. I mean, there's definitely some times when the simulation does break, and so there's going to be something that's going to be awesome to see. But this one's something that's just going to always be happening, you know what I mean? There's always room for improvement there, especially like with it being in, I believe, still alpha. These two being effectively pretty similar. Realistic whitewater rendering and whitewater solver, where effectively you can have some real clean looking, like really realistic looking whitewater. And this is going to be like this isn't always, like, not every simulation requires whitewater, but at the same time, it's going to take everything to the next level. You're doing waterfalls, you're doing ocean, even if it's just a portion of an ocean, stuff like that. Whitewater is going to look great. You know, maybe you're pouring liquid into liquid, like into a glass, for example. You're going to see, you know, maybe like bubbles and stuff coming up. So it's going to be awesome. So this is effectively just a more controlled, better, more realistic looking results, and that's going to be great. Improved path tracing, and path tracing works and it's pretty good, but improvement to it as well as stability. Stability could be a pretty good thing to see. But also performance improvements would also be great. But I don't know how you know that's going to work. Like, I don't know how easy it is to improve the performance there. Viscosity is something that a lot of people are looking forward to, and that adds a lot because viscosity isn't like liquids aren't just like one time, like a one thing. Like blood does not have the same viscosity as, for example, water, and you kind of can't really fake it. So instead of having everything at a very much like a water level, and even water's not even the same. Like, there are times where everything's kind of different, right? But yeah, doing stuff like honey, this is going to be great. They have a bit of, they have like, I believe, a stickiness currently, and that's kind of like a faux viscosity, but having full-on viscosity is going to be great. Inputting cameras, I mean, win. Spline forces, I mean, I don't need to spend much time talking about that because we've sort of seen that in Embergen sort of stuff, but that's going to be great. Ocean and river tools, this is going to be amazing because it is a bit of a limitation. I've seen stuff of people doing like oceans and rivers in Liquigen already, but that's like, you're very much like, that takes a lot of work. So having this is going to be great, and it's going to make it be a good contender to Houdini and stuff. And I forgot what it's called in Flip. You have like Flip in Blender and stuff like that. It's going to be a good contender because at the moment, I mean, you got some great smaller scale stuff. But you can still have like oceans and stuff like that, but it is limited. So having specific tools for oceans and rivers is going to be great. Illugen, we get an update to Illugen, and it's going to be coming out 2025. Also, this is going to be 2025. That's awesome. They're doing massive pushes, so we're going to be actually seeing what Illugen is going to be. That's going to be really awesome. Illugen is going to be pretty cool. So visual effects in games are comprised of a bunch of smoke and mirrors. True. As artists, we do so many weird things to get the job done, and it is our job to convince the player that what they're seeing isn't just a bunch of graphical hacks and performance optimizations. If only there were a better way to create a majority of assets used to assemble these illusions. Ooh, gonna be pretty cool. There's a lot that's gonna be potentially what this could be. I guess for. So this is gonna be super awesome. Highly looking forward to Illugen, getting my hands on it and stuff like that. And yeah, gonna be great. Can't wait to see more on that. I'm just trying to remember. I can't remember if it's every second month or every month. I believe it, not month. If it's every, I guess quarter or every second quarter. I can't remember. But there is a, I think it's every second quarter. There's a live stream that Nick does, and he covers, you know, what they're working on and how everything's going. And I would imagine that's when we got teased about Illugen, originally. And I would imagine we might see some stuff Illugen related when that happens, whether it releases with that update, with that quarterly or bi-quarterly live stream, or if we just get an update to see what it is turning out to be. But that's going to be really, really awesome. And Geogen, the only thing they have, I'm sure that they are doing more, and there's more in the process, but at the moment they've only got cliffs and overhangs, so hopefully we can see some more stuff here of what they're working on for Illugen 1.0. But cliffs and overhangs, complicated R&D dedicated to removing the limitations of height map displacements of a plane. This is such a big thing. No other terrain software that I'm aware of allows this. You have other things that are not terrain software that can do it. Once again, Houdini. You can manually sculpt it in something like ZBrush or Blender, and so. Okay, so I'm in a lot of Discords for. I use all the different, not all the different, but the three mainly being updated stuff. I got Geogen, I got World Creator, and I got Gaia, right? Arguably, I believe I got another one, but no, maybe I do. I can't remember. Either way, those are the three ones that I have, and occasionally use the different ones. But yeah, the main limitation to them all is the fact that you can't do cliffs and overhangs, and this is going to become pretty cool. So it's just cliffs and overhangs. At the moment, what you'd do is you'd either have a separate mesh that you use, and you use that mesh to break up the cliff face per se, or alternatively you have different things. So you'd make effectively a cliff face mesh, and you'd make the normal, I guess, mountain, for example, and then you'd apply that, you'd put that cliff face in the regions, and that's how that would work. Stuff like caves and stuff would be similar there, where you're making each cave wall side and then you combine them together in a separate program. But that's really hacky, so being able to do it in this is like something that no other program really does. That's going to be really, really awesome. I'd be intrigued to know how they're doing it. I'd assume they're using what is it called? Vector height maps. So you have like height maps, which just, so at the moment you have like height or displacement maps, and those are, that's what it's called, VDM, vector displacement map. And so it's a little bit different. So at the moment, height displacement maps generally are black and white, and it can hold lots of information there, but that is only, I guess, the up axis, where you have a vector displacement map, which some programs use and support, and that's increasingly, I believe, a pretty big thing, and that is going to be great. So you see that with like ZBrush and Blender that I'm aware of, and I've seen being used. And so with vector displacement maps, that will be like, you can have like a nose, for example, and you can apply that nose onto it in different shapes and stuff like that, because you're using multiple axes because of the it being a vector displacement. So it's using 3 colors, or at least a combination similar to like a normal map, I guess, where you're using like the 3 main colors, and then you've obviously got the mixes of in-betweens and stuff, and it holds a heap more information. So that's going to be really, really awesome. I'm not too sure what else they're working on Geogen related. But I'd love to see what else they're working on. But yeah, this is hopefully, I'm not too sure if this is going to be using vector displacement or I don't know, but it's quite a big difference, and that's going to be pretty cool. That could open up stuff like caves. I've never seen a program really being used for caves outside of actually sculpting it or having to do a bit of weird stuff that I just mentioned earlier about making multiple different high maps and combining them. So this is going to be really, really awesome. Looking forward to this and what this entails. I'd love to see, I think I did a form a little bit back about what I'd love to see in Geogen. And I believe on there I said more like realistic, I guess like templates and stuff. Because like we got like, well, not just templates, but I'm gonna have I believe this is the latest one. Not that one. Gaia 2.0. There's probably an update because I saw a really awesome update that I wanted to check out while I was overseas. But here with like Gaia, we've got all these like real not basic, but real detailed, awesome looking so like template nodes here. And these are like super, super awesome. You got some real awesome stuff, and you get some real cool looking results here. And this is something that, like, unfortunately, it is something that Geogen currently doesn't have. Like, you can make these, but you have to do a lot more work, because this is not just like a standard node that you just like existent and stuff. Like, these are kind of like behind the scenes. I'd imagine it's like it has a predetermined noise kind of like style of like what you could probably make, for example, is what I'm trying to say is you could probably make a canyon out of a bunch of different nodes and get this result anyway, but it's just a like, hey, this is effectively these nodes giving you this result already because we know that you already want this canyon look effectively. So having a bunch of these are really awesome, like preset stuff is going to be great because you get some real cool stuff like, you know, combine like, I don't know, ridge and mountain, and you get some cool stuff. So instead of like that you got some cool, you can like add to it and stuff that gives you some great breakup. But yeah, pretty cool. And there's a lot of really cool stuff here. This is why I really enjoy using Gaia. And I enjoy using like Geogen and stuff like that. And I mean, you've seen probably, if you've seen my videos, I've done a heap of stuff covering what you can do in Geogen. But Geogen's still really, really new. I love to see some of those new things getting added. So a lot of like those really, really cool improvements here. The only thing is, I believe I know of like one person like definitely working on Geogen who's like Gil. I could be pronouncing his name wrong, but he's like, I think the head person behind it, because he worked on another software that's kind of similar. I'm just gonna quickly find. So he worked on this software called Grand Designer, which is for making like planets and stuff like that. And I believe they hired him from this to work on the Geogen related stuff. And I believe there are more people working on it, but it's one of those things with like the big push at the moment is Embergen 2.0. So I don't know how many other employees are still working on Geogen as opposed to trying to pump out 2.0 Embergen. But there's a lot of stuff that could be coming Geogen related that I would love to see. And it's a tricky thing. You got world creating, you got Gaia, and you have other things as well that you know, they're trying to compete with and those have been working for so long, and you know, like Guy and World Creator, for example, they are solely working on terrains. So Jenga effects coming out of out of nowhere with Geogen, and being able to compete against them while also working on Liquigen and Embergen is quite the task. But you know, they're doing a great job, and I'm loving you know, the pros of Geogen, which I believe I made a video on. So yeah, really cool to see. I'm pretty much gonna end it. This is a much longer video. This was meant to be like a really short video, and then I'm like, let's go very in depth into each thing and my thoughts and stuff like that. So yeah, if you've managed to stay this whole time, thank you so much for watching. I went quite in depth into this. I feel like I could have gone more into depth, and then I got to, I think I was like 20 minutes by the time that I got here, and I'm like, I need to really get the ball rolling a little bit, and even then it's still taken quite a while. So yeah, thank you guys all for watching. I cannot wait to see where Jenga goes with their software. I mean, yeah, I just really love what they're working on, and what they do and stand for. So, yeah, probably one of, if not my favorite software company. So I love it. These are looking to be some real awesome stuff. I think this year's gonna be really, dude, this year is quite a lot for me. You know, there's so many awesome games. This is like the amount of like really awesome games coming out this year. I mean, I do not have the wallet for it, you know what I mean? And then we're gonna have what, maybe Embergen 2.0, hopefully, fingers crossed, hopefully Liquigen 1.0, Illugen, and I don't know if I doubt we'll probably have Geogen as well, because it's just asking for way too much. But at least hopefully getting some cool Geogen updates will be great to see. But yeah, there's so much that they're working on, and that's super great. So loving their work. This is going to take everything to the whole next level. Illugen is hopefully going to be really awesome. Liquigen is also going to be, it's, you know, once it hits its 1.0, I'm hoping it's going to be as refined as Embergen 1.0 was. And let's just say we've got a lot to look forward to. So yeah, awesome work, Jenga team. Can't wait to see more. And yeah, you guys are doing amazing. So nice work, guys. And yeah, hope you guys all are as excited as I am, and we'll catch you guys next time. Laters.